Hi, this is Janine Bressner at AS220 in Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm going to show you one method of efficiently making pom-poms in bulk instead of making them one at a time, which is a waste of time. I've got 2 nails, a hammer, 2 pencils, 1 pair of scissors, some linen thread, and some yarn. I'm going to start by taking my 2 nails and hammering them into a surface. It can be a table if you've got one that you could sacrifice. It could be a wooden board, or I'll tell you this trick at the end, it could be something else as well. I like angling the nails out a bit when I hammer them because as I wrap yarn around them, the tension is going to pull the nails in towards each other, and if they pull in too much, it's possible for the fiber to slip off over the heads of the nails. So the nails are angled out as I hammer them in. Okie dokie. I don't want to hammer the nails too deeply into the wood because the shaft of the nail should still be available for me to wrap yarn around it. If this is too deeply driven into the surface of whatever you're working with, you've got very little actual nail to wind the yarn around, and you can't really make a big pom-pom. So also the size of the nails, the length of the nails that you're using will determine how the diameter of the pom-pom that you can make. If you've got longer nails, you can make bigger pom-poms. So these nails seem to be not secure. I recommend hammering into wood instead of plywood, chips, and glue. But I think that now these are secure enough for us to begin winding the yarn. This method of constructing pom-poms is somewhat analogous to making maki sushi. When you've got a roll of sushi and you then cut, you end up with these pieces. So we're basically taking yarn and making a long hank of loops and then tying belts around it at intervals and then slicing between the belts to create the pom-poms, which are basically just bunches of fiber parallel with a cinched waist, and then we fold them. So the diameter of the pom-pom is determined by how far apart those belts are along the hanks of yarn, as well as how thick those hanks of yarn are wound around the shafts of the nails. So these are some examples of pom-poms. This is a thicker fiber, and you can see that this produced a bigger pom-pom than this, for example. This is an acrylic yarn. This is Japanese bunka cord. This also ends up looking fuller because you can comb the fiber out with a fine-toothed comb once you're done cutting your pom-poms. I've got a piece of yarn and I'm going to tie it in a loop around a nail. And there I pulled it tight. Now I'm going to start winding this around both of the nails. And here we can actually speed it up, right? Like Benny Hill chasing a girl around a park bench. Some of the main motivation that I have in doing this tutorial is that I very frequently wear earrings that I made that are pom-pom earrings, and I made the pom-poms. And I sell things that I make for a living, but I don't want to make pom-pom earrings to sell. It kind of takes a while to make them the way that I want them made, and I would rather show people how to do it themselves than to sit around making pom-pom earrings all day long. Too much of anything makes it less fun, you know? Anyway, it'll be fun for you, hopefully. Hopefully you won't start a business making pom-pom earrings, but it's your life. You do what you want. Okay. This is just too weird. Lately, a lot of people have been telling me that they've been making pom-poms with these store-bought pom-pom makers where you do one at a time. And it's just unnecessarily inefficient. And that's why I said that I think that that's kind of a waste of time. It depends. If you're making a huge pom-pom that's like this big, then sure, maybe you'll want to do one at a time. Now, I cut the yarn to detach it from the skein, and I'm tying it around this other nail so that it keeps tension and doesn't try to unravel. And now I'll move this yarn off to the side, and here I've got some linen thread. I first tie the belts loosely so that I can adjust the spacing before I tighten the knots. Something that's really important, I'm using linen because it's supposed to be a stronger fiber for this purpose. You have to pull it really, really tightly to make sure that your pom-pom will stay together. And it's best definitely to use a fiber that can resist that tension of pulling so that it doesn't rip as you're tightening each of these belts when they're being tied. This will get cut off of the nail, and this will allow the diameter to be consistent with the other ones. And is this too nerdy? I'm talking about making pom-poms. The purpose of the pencils is so that I can wrap the ends of the linen thread around them. Is this how people get strangled in movies? So basically, you can pull the line really tightly without it cutting into your fingers and without it hurting so much. And so that is what people do in movies? I'm sorry. Hey, it's a movie. I'm in a movie. I'm strangling yarn and tying this tightly, pulling this tightly, just by wrapping it around. There it's sort of staying, and I complete the square knot by pulling that tighter. I'm going to finish these belts. You're not going to see that, and you'll see the next step. Magic! So, most of the knots are tied, most of the belts are tied along the hank of yarn, and now it's enough for me to show you how to make pom-poms. When I'm going to cut the pom-poms apart, I slide one blade between half of the bulk of the hank of yarn. If you try to cut through all of it at once, it often ends up a diagonal cut, skewed, pushing the fiber along the blades as you're trying to cut through all of that bulk. So I find roughly the center of the hank with one blade of the scissors, and I cut each half. And it's starting to look like a pom-pom. So now I do the same thing with the other segments. I cut through half, then the other half. Also, being aware of the ends of the belts that I just tied, because it's nice to use those to hang the pom-poms or attach them to other things. You can quickly make all the others just by cutting them up, and then I'll show you how to finish by trimming them. Once it's cut, it sort of fans open, kind of like a flower. I hold this flat, and looking at the edges, I'm only trying to trim pieces of yarn that are longer. This is dusty. If you're very sensitive to dust, it's best to work in an area that maybe doesn't have a fan blowing this all over the place. You can also save these pom-pom trimmings to use in other craft projects, like yarn glitter. Dust. So the next step is to press the entire pom-pom flat in the opposite direction, so the perpendicular direction. This will now reveal the belt as it's pressed flat. It will be a straight line through it. And as we look at this pom-pom that's pressed flat, you can see it's sort of ovoid looking, and I want to trim the whole thing so that it's more spheroid. Scientific pom-poms. Like the Earth, an oblate spheroid. Okay, trimming this up, it's getting rounder, and as you do this last step, you can just press it in all different directions to check and see how round it is. And this could be done as it is, or if you want to be really particular, you can keep trimming until it's really, really spherical and smooth. My point is, it's really easy to make a whole lot of pom-poms at once using this kind of method, quickly, efficiently. That's that. Okay. The thing that I didn't tell you before is that if you really want to make a lot of pom-poms at once, and you don't want to be limited by the length of a piece of wood, or perhaps you don't have wood, hook the yarn over a coat hook on a wall or a doorknob and go all the way across a room to the back of a chair or something that's secure, and just keep winding the yarn back and forth, monopolizing the entire space, and make hundreds of pom-poms at once. This is a pom-pom cowbell that I got in Spain. Cool cows. These are some really dense pom-poms that I got in Peru, and they're arranged in such a way that there are actual images within the edges of the pom-poms. This is labor-intensive stuff.